Yaate, mabuhay. Buenas. Welcome, one and all. Good afternoon, Pacific time. It is Tuesday. It's already Tuesday, my friends. Welcome, welcome. Medicine Tribe Television presenting another episode of Real Medicine. So happy to be joined today by my dear sister. She's a songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, storyteller, poet, activist, fellow Aquarian, hard motherfucking worker. And I know a lot of you guys tuning in today know exactly who she is, Miss Leah Song. And I'm so stoked to get to chat with my sister today and hear about what's going on in this world. So let's get her on here, shall we? Yo.
Yeah.
Hey, you.
Nice to
You
see
look
ya.
great. Yeah, yo, check this out.
Check that out.
Hey, got a rep. I was like, what do I wear today? I was like, wear her fucking epic shirt that I've had forever and still wear.
Good job. Well done.
Yeah.
Oh, nice to see your face.
Yeah, good to see your face too. You look so shiny and bright. And where can you tell us where you are in the world?
Tropical. Yeah. So, the last time we saw each other was down here in Central America. And,
Yeah.
uh, and we spent a little bit of time down at the Envision Festival. And I did a little bit of work after that and then created a whole kind of healing regime for myself down here in Costa Rica that was going to be a bunch of personal time and
Mm.
restoration and wellness work. And then lo and behold, did I get handed that on a silver platter. So I have the good fortune of having been invited to collaborate with some pretty powerful community members and
Mm.
farmers and kind of radical herbalists and the whole world of kind of intense wellness and land-based folks. So I'm on a little
Mm.
farm up a gravel road.
Mm.
One of the highest points in Central America, the highest point in Costa Rica, on the edge of the Chirripo Mountain.
Mm.
So
Pura vida. So it sounds like you're like literally in the most magical uh quarantined vibes that folks like us could ask for. I mean, um, does it feel really wholesome and healthy to be in that environment and while amidst like knowing the sort of chaos that's sort of happening around the world?
yeah, I mean, I talk to people really honestly about that because it still feels weird. It feels crazy. It's strange to feel far away from family. I'm
Mm.
deeply rooted in Appalachia. I'm also deeply rooted in Latin America, and I've been
Mm-hmm.
living and traveling in Central America since I was 18. So there's a part of it that feels home, but nobody likes to be told that they can't get back to the place of their origin.
Mm.
Borders are closed and airports are closed. So it has still hold some of the kind of collective anxiety and question marks and frustrations, but I feel incredibly indebted to a high kind of temperate rainforest, cloud forest zone full of farmers that I can spend most of my time literally in the production of food, wild
Mm.
food, fruits and
Mm.
herbalism. And,
Mm.
I know you're doing a lot of that too. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the first thing that I wanted to do as soon as all this started happening was get into the ground and start planting seeds. And I
Right.
think wherever you have access to that, if it's a pot in your kitchen sink, or if you have any backyard or access to land, like that's all I've wanted to do. So in that way, I feel really, really blessed to have
Mm.
access to a lot of farming folk.
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask you more about farming and that lifestyle and herbalism and obviously music and sort of
And
get it
archery.
in archery and
Let's get
horses
real.
and basically everything that we totally fuck with so hard. But like my question, I guess, is first of all, like, how's your family? How's your band? Is everybody healthy and maintaining their sanity right now, or what's up with the crew?
Yeah, totally. The crew, for the first time in a long time, every one of us was in a different state. Our fiddle player is up in Brooklyn, so he's been the one we've been keeping the closest contact with,
Mm.
just to make sure that he's hanging, and he is. He's got a whole lot of music happening that's just beaming out of his little tiny apartment, and so our drummer is in Tennessee. He's on access to a lot of land. Our Ngoni player is in Arizona. He just got
Mm.
engaged, so
Hey,
love in the
congrats.
time of Corona.
Oh yeah, you said that to me. I read that on your Insta post, and I was like, "That's a bit clever. I like that."
Yeah, thank you. If you don't know the reference, folks, look it up.
Hey,
Yeah, so everybody is spread a little bit further apart, and I think that we just like truly miss each other. Our whole team, we like miss the camaraderie. We're supposed to be on a huge tour right now, like the full six piece and the bigger crew, and our sound engineer and his incredible partner who runs a lot of our herbalism. They're with family in Appalachia, so like everybody's rooted. Everybody's either in land or in their own artistry,
where's
which is
Chloe? Is
good.
she in Georgia or is she in
Chloe's in North Carolina,
North Carolina? Cool.
so we kind of got the whole space covered. The whole
Yeah,
eastern seaboard is covered by
yeah.
members, and the folks
Wow.
are good too, you know.
Yeah, they're healthy and they're maintaining.
I mean, you've been to the studio of my
I
father,
love their house. Yeah.
so the weird and peculiar benefit, I think, to those of us that are artists. My father is a sculptor and my mother is a fiddle player. Is their life hasn't changed very much. They are just still in their art and in their realms. They're not going out at all, but so much of their livelihood happened in their own studios. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they're solid. My dad is every now and then he asks my mom out on a date, lights the
Aw.
chandelier, takes her to the kitchen in the house they've been living in for over 40 years, and puts on a suit. So
Oh my God. That is so adorable. What? That's so cute.
it's kind of cute.
Oh, wow, your dad. So adorable. I love that.
So yeah, somehow like
So,
creativity is reigning in these weird ass times.
yeah, is it for you? I mean, have you felt that, I mean, even outside of, because I want to talk about music. I know you just put out some new music, and I know I'm sure that you're, I don't know, writing like crazy or just getting into that space. But I mean, how is how is that creativity for you right now? I mean, uh, is it flowing? Is it sort of just getting started, or where are you at with it all?
I feel we were talking about this earlier. I feel like a little guilty to admit to myself or to even like wrangle with how creative I feel right now.
Right.
And
Mm.
I've always been really drawn to what is called like red areas. So like when I was 18, I moved to Zapatista territory of southern Mexico to like study the rebellion. And when Katrina hit New Orleans, we got deeply involved in the restoration work of New Orleans. So I'm drawn to hardship in a way. And I don't think that that's necessary for my creativity. In fact, I think that that's a real bad kind of loophole for any of us to get into, that we have to go to struggle in order to find creativity.
Mm.
So I don't buy into that, but at the same time, something about this time frame, and I think it's actually less the crisis mentality and actually more the like mandatory introversion is got.
Mm.
I feel like the creativity is on fire
Mm.
actually. Like,
Mm.
all things, songs and poetry and lyrics. And I was digging up an old song that you and I were working on years ago and like rewriting those lyrics. And I've got all my
What song was
paint.
it? I don't know.
It was like the old lyrics to the wolves have returned. But
Oh
remember, I
yeah.
wrote a bunch of verses that we
Yeah, yeah,
didn't
yeah, yeah, yeah.
use.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
like
yeah.
found all the old verses and was like, oh, I can like put that back together in a different
Yeah.
way. And like, it feels like there's this due diligence period where all these projects that I never had time to even catch up with are
Right.
finally getting some attention, you know?
Yeah, I envision you, no pun intended, I envision you like running, jumping, hiding, bouncing, like push-ups and like and eating well and sleeping and like all the things. I'm like, yes, because for those of you who are tuning in today who don't know uh much about um Leah Song and Nahko's history, we go way back
We go way
and
back
way, 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 way
to the
back.
rookie years,
Yo, when we were just a couple of OGs. And I
just
remember when
busking on the streets.
yeah, I remember when I met you and you told me about, what you just sort of talked about as far as like just, being so involved in Zapatistas or like, having traveled for so long and sort of being this collector of song, this collecting songs and collecting stories. And it really moved me because I had yet to sort of identify even myself as a storyteller or a person in that way that um, was so nomadic and so gypsy-like and um, in such a flow that I would just find myself in these places and sort of be hearing things and learning from those things and uh, and then I learned that you two are an Aquarian, that we both have so much air in our like charts that we are like hilariously alike. And so, in knowing, where you are right now in that space of creativity, I can absolutely mirror that and say that
Hmm.
that I feel uh, I've been in spaces where I have felt guilty in some moments
Hmm.
uh, because I feel so activated and open, and the songs are coming in, the crafts are happening, the tending to the spiritual, physical wellness is in motion, and the challenge is on, you know,
Yeah.
and it's difficult for us as folks who travel to create income, but also it's our we love it. We love to move around the world and
Yeah.
share our knowledge, and so, but at the same time, I feel like you and I are very similar, where the we also absolutely love sitting down and grounding in
Right.
and staying put and bringing things to us like that.
And like being in the garden. I mean, you were farming in Hawaii when I was like studying like tropical permaculture, and like there's not a lot of full-time touring musicians who are like stoked to stop at the wild herb sanctuary and harvest, whatever local herbs that you can grab to like throw in your French press for tea and things. I mean, I do think that the music industry doesn't really cultivate a love of wilderness. If
Mm,
you have to work so hard to keep that alive in you, if music has designed itself as your path, which I know has been something we talk about all the time, and both the Medicine crew and the Rising Appalachia crew are constantly trying to figure out how to be growing our touring ensemble and like still have a relationship with the ground, you
mm,
know?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, do you have any, I don't know, has there been any like ideas in that sense that have fueled uh, the current creation that you're in right now, where I mean, tell us a bit about what you're working on right now down there in the gardens.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that I set this time up for myself for personal restoration before, it got crazy. And so I came down with a lot of my own tools. I came down with a bag full of herbalism and all of my pen and ink and black walnut ink. I brought
Yo, you're
my
so good at that. I love that. Yeah.
I brought my favorite banjo, not even my touring banjo, my like
Mm,
really beautiful new homemade brass banjo straight out of Appalachia, and
sick.
books of poetry and my big Irish drum. You know, I brought all of the
Some Neruda. Did you bring
tools.
some Neruda down with you?
I didn't bring Neruda, but I
Oh,
have a
cool.
little Hafiz, and I
Nice.
highly suggest that.
Well done.
But you know, and then I do feel so lucky to be in a place where there's farming. You know, this is a region, and no matter where I would be right now, that's what I'd want to be doing. But this is a region that is working really, really hard to create basically a collective that is tied to some of the most sustainable and highest caliber organic food in Costa
Mm,
Rica. And so
mm,
all the neighbors are farming. And now that the virus has hit, Costa Rica's in the same boat. Everything's closed. There's curfews on cars. The border's closed. The airport's closed. You know, the beaches are closed, which is crazy.
wow.
But the collective spirit in communal living is really strong, and everyone in this up this little gravel road, you know, folks have all been the folks that are local Costa Ricans have been farmers for generations, and the folks that are, you know, not Tico and not Costa Rican have been here for 20, 25 years and are all working on land-based projects and starting to create community gardens, women's gardens, gardens for the local schools they're building, turning the
Mm,
soccer field into a farm. Like, people are on fire to
mm,
see it all get planted. And I am so, it's just really powerful to
mm,
just have your hands in the ground. You
mm-hmm,
know, it's
mm-hmm.
even if it's not your ground, if you may not ever see that tree fruit, just to have your hands in the ground.
Totally. Absolutely. I mean, the relationship between I think music and gardening for us is so dope. Like uh, it's literally like farming in Hawaii for me. Like was so instrumental to songwriting,
Totally.
and you know then I got swept up in bringing those songs to the world for so many years, and it was hard to find time to go back to it because I was always working. And so in the last few years, I've been able to return to that. But certainly, you know, this quarantine time has allowed that relationship to flourish now. And as I was showing you the gardens earlier, and I I wonder what your oh man, I had so many questions actually, but I wonder, I was like thinking of 20 different questions at the same time. I was wondering, you know, what are some of the fun challenges that you're, I guess, and not so fun challenges that you're working on right now? I mean, you know, on the spectrum of, uh, uh, you know, your diet, your exercise, your
Yeah,
um,
totally.
spiritual, mental exercise, all those kinds of things. Like, tell us something about some of those things.
Totally. I mean, there's no there's no way to avoid the immense. Oh, I just got weird deja vu. That's weird because this has definitely never happened before.
Did I do this?
Okay, cool. Let's take that
Okay,
as some
cool.
sort of a sign. But I mean, I do think it's important to like talk about the rose and the thorn. Like, that's the way we always talk about it. Like, there's the beautiful part, which is that there's actually time for rest. There's time for wellness. There's time to like dig up old creative projects. I feel like I'm eating extremely well because you know, I'm in the tropics. This is
Yeah.
a really easy place to eat local and eat simple.
Mm,
I have a relationship with an outdoor space, which a lot of our community does not have. For those of you
mm,
that are in cities, you know, I know that that's a whole nother kind of relationship to find
mm-hmm,
out how to stretch into, even just sitting in your window and staring up at the sky some, or like getting physical exercise, and that way I'm really quite lucky. I have access to an outdoor space,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that where that's hard for folks, there's there's so much creativity. I read an article about somebody that was a marathon runner, and
Mm.
they're stuck in their apartment, and they decided to run the entire marathon in place and record themselves running it in place to like calculate it. So
Whoa, that's crazy.
like there's the creative response is so empowering even for folks who don't necessarily have access to a garden right now, just the way people are stretching into their own empowerment to utilize this internal space and stay focused and stay sane and stay healthy. It's immensely um, invigorating to witness that response. So I salute all of you that are out there that are in a very different window of, you know, maybe not being able to garden. Nahko's got his epic overalls and he's out with a shovel all the time. I'm next door to an herbal farm. So, but I would say the anxiety, Knox, is really real. Like,
Mm.
you must feel this way too. Like, looking at our schedule, we had our tour schedule booked until past December,
Mm-hmm.
into next year. Beautiful, beautiful tours. Things we were enormously excited to do. And just to watch 80 shows get canceled, 90
Mm.
shows get canceled,
Yeah.
all the way, they're just getting notched off, like every day a few more get canceled. And that's the weirdest set of emotions
Yeah, I mean,
all
because
at
as you had said earlier, it's like the last time you were on stage was literally with me at Envision, and then I had a few shows after that, but like, I mean, we may not go back to work this year, like that's
Yeah,
something we have to consider.
yeah,
How does that make you feel?
I mean, there is some hardship there. Like, it's not even that we may not go. I don't want to be negative about the whole predicament and the fact that like actually nobody has any freaking clue how it's
Right.
gonna unravel. I mean, it's easy actually to be quite negative, but I'm not sure that we're gonna go. When are we gonna go back to work? When are we gonna have a beautiful 1,500 person audience at a festival or larger? An indoor venue that's just like singing all of the words with you.
Mm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's no, I talk to people all the time about our job as touring musicians, and there's a lot of it that's not that romantic. There's a lot of it that I won't miss. I don't miss trying to figure out where to get decent food and sleeping in a different bed every night. I don't miss that. I'm happy to be spending time in one place quietly with a bunch of books and a garden,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the joy of actually that hour and a half catharsis of making music from a stage, of like honing your craft, and you walk out, and the second you take to the mic, you know exactly where you are and exactly what to do and how to steer the crowd and how to feel the vibration. Is the crowd feeling more mournful? Are they feeling more inspired? Is it a high energy night? Is it a low energy night? Like, just knowing how to navigate that space, and the vibrancy and the sensation of feeling all of that energy just riding with you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing to compare to that, and there's nothing, there's no way to even explain that feeling
Mm.
except by doing it, and we don't know when.
Yeah. I mean, I almost like I attune it to a sense of our mental wellness where when we're gathering together, and this is the hard part, is we can't get together really right now. And when we're all together like that, uh, you know, uh, we're literally having a big ass therapy session. You know what I'm saying? And like,
Totally.
and so I miss my therapy sessions, is what I'm trying to say.
Totally. Oh, it's like cheap therapy too, like concert ticket is
Yo,
way cheaper than your therapist.
yeah, we get together. We it's sort of this servicing opportunity where literally, it's a symbiotic, giving and receiving
Hey, yeah,
experience,
yeah.
right? And
Same.
it keeps, certainly there's unhealthy parts of it, absolutely, that we're all sort of trying to work through individually. Um, but there's so much like wellness that comes from that, getting to um, be together, you know,
Yeah,
and those are our support groups, right? Like those are our like our peoples that we can lean into for support. And I know I do it when I'm performing. It's like I lean into everybody,
yeah,
to lift me up, in the same way
totally.
where, they're coming there for that too. So um, I think a part of the struggle, for people, even in the mental illness, arena that I've been talking to or been listening to, has been like the difficulty of like continuing to maintain a healthy state of mind in a time where we can't get together and where we can't go to our groups, in that sense, and like, uh, and so it's really, a rude awakening to forcefully making you either go inside, or just live within some form of anxiety. And I think like the anxiety itself, as you were saying, like it literally is a blanket, and I drop in and out of that shit like probably every other hour.
Totally, totally. Like 500 times a day, where you're like, this is amazing, I'm farming. And then you're like, oh shit, what is happening? And when is it gonna like level out? And are we gonna have like our livelihood back ever or any time in the near future?
Yeah, and then you can get like super sucked into the what the post-COVID world would look like, and like you get super like for me, like I get super rabbit holed into like the quote unquote conspiracy theories, or like I get sucked into like just all the things that are happening regulatory wise, whether it's environmental rollbacks or like the even just the way that the voting is being handled in this country at this time. Um, and just the complete, breakdown of anything that seems democratic or fair. And I'm looking at like, this such a massive divide, of opinions in the world and in our country, of
Right.
course, our country being the richest country in the world. And you're looking at like, and just lately, even just like following like what's going on in some of these major cities, where there's such clear divided racism between like different communities, and where police are literally like just either allowing certain demographics, and particularly white folks, just allowing them to do whatever the fuck they want, and then cracking down on black and brown people, and I'm just like, wow, like this is the worst before better. There it's going to continue to get more heated and more. I mean, in my Aquarian language, fucking interesting. You know,
Right.
where action is going to be demanded of you, in the post-corona world, in that sense. And like I'm just, I often like remind myself like this is what we're here for this, like
Right.
I'm here for it, you know what I'm saying? But like it's dirty work, it's dirty work coming out of that tunnel.
Well, and it's the divide and conquer. And like that's what I think we all need to be so mindful about and aware of, and have our spidey senses on, is like divide and conquer is the oldest trick in the book. And all it takes is a little bit of fear, and fear mentality, and fear of the other, and fear of scarcity, and fear of starvation, fear of sickness, fear of unemployment. I mean, the fear is out of control right now. And what happens when people are frightened, rightfully so, is they begin to panic and then begin to hoard, and then there is this excuse all of a sudden for the authorities to put the divide and conquer regiment out on everybody and start to create more and more and more limits and rules and police brutality and over policing and over militarizing, and
Mm.
that's like you said. I mean, that's the material that those of us that have dug into any realms of sort of social justice movements, it's the material that is, you know, it's the material I've been studying, reading, and trying to understand and trying to unravel and standing on the front lines to make sense of. And this is just another version of these times. I mean, it's like the times that we have been waiting for. How are we going to rise to the occasion? How are communities going to collaborate with each other? How are we going to stand up for folks who have less access to what we have access to? How are we not going to move from panic and figure out how to actually share resources? And these are questions that I think we are asking ourselves, and hopefully many, many people are asking, each other.
I mean, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'll come back.
I was just going to reference this Aquarian age that we are in.
Oh, yes, it is ours.
And was like, yo, I mean, listening to your words, your songs, and they have, ultimately been preparing folks for, these teachings through the music have been preparing folks and helping them build that resilience and build that like strength and courage and focusing and realigning the spiritual body so that we can be prepared to address crisis like this. There she is. I was just saying that I feel like, no, it's all good. That this work that we've been sharing through our lives as Aquarians in an Aquarian age has been preparing folks to for ultimately, first of all, taking care of yourself so that you can be able to address a crisis on a global scale.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I do think that's like, it's a bit of a cliche phrase, but it's that sort of like, we are the ones we've been waiting for concept, which is,
here it is.
So many of us have been preparing for this, or talking about it, or strategizing about it, or like talking about building, our networks and our resources and the mycelium to support it. And it's in the conferences and the festivals, it's in all the language, but of course we didn't know exactly what it would look like. And now that we're all in this position, I think even the most radical minded folks are like, whoa, this is not the apocalypse I've been planning for. It was, this, we don't have the tools quite sharpened. This is all new.
These aren't the zombies we were looking for.
We were not looking for these zombies. We were looking for different zombies.
Okay, here's a fun question. I thought about this last night, actually, and I just think it'd be fun to hear what your answer would be. Leah Song, tell me, what does it mean when they say hindsight is 2020?
Ooh. All right. Hold that thought while I make sure that my phone is charging, because it's trying really hard to die. And I'll be right back.
Okay. This is a fun moment where everybody else can comment their answer.
Sorry. This is just the nature of the Wi-Fi world down here. Okay, hindsight is 2020. I suppose that means that when you're like, I mean, what comes to mind for me, this is pretty random, also Aquarian, gentle, like way off the deep end in order to answer the question.
Let's go.
But what comes to me is, how like when you're in the process of making an album, which right now because you're in it, and you're like super in the artistry. You've written the song, you've recorded it 6,000 times, you've listened to that one part where you say the word "the wolf" over and over and over again, and you can no longer tell if it's good, if it's art, if you mean it, if like it's even relevant to your message anymore, because you're so immersed in it. I think it's like the same kind of concept. Like when you're deeply, deeply into something, when you're in a relationship, when you're in artistry, when you're in a period of history, you know, you're so immersed in it that you don't have the perspective, even your own full spectrum of perspective,
Mm-hmm.
because you're mired, you're underground, you're actually like thickly in it. And once you get out of that space and you get a little distance from it, you get perspective from it, you get a bird's eye view, then you can like finally land your own opinions even, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a great answer, and I think like it almost sort of still even answers the next question, which was if hindsight is 2020 and is in that realm of your well, and is that being your answer in your opinion in this moment, then why is it that vision is 2020?
Ooh, you gotta get all like weird and mystical on me. Oh. Okay, so now we're playing with language. So we're
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
with like the use of our currency and vocabulary as
yeah.
linguists.
Yeah, why
Why
is it
would
that
we say,
perfect vision being 2020, and then like hindsight is 2020? It's like there's a correlation there that I feel is really important,
hmm,
you know?
well, I mean, I think I would stay in the same concept that
Yeah,
I'm in
no, I
already,
absolutely think so. Yeah.
which is like you cannot have perfect vision if you're completely immersed in something. You actually have to have some distance from the subject to have perfect vision, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have, you know, we will see what our 2020 vision is on this culturally, but like you can't, you know, it's what is it? Like when you're too close, it's nearsighted, and when you're too
Oh, yeah,
far,
yeah.
it's far, you know,
Right.
near and farsighted. Like you 2020 has to do with like your perspective to the subject. And if you're too close, it's blurry and you're too in it. And if you're too far away, you have memory loss, or you can't, you know, you can't quite be associated with it. So you
Mm-hmm.
need your perch, the distance from where you are to the thing that you're observing, and your perspective is a very important part of how you can interpret things.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm taking it.
I dig
What
it.
do you think?
I mean, I'm on the same train. I mean, choo choo. I feel like it's I feel like there's I mean, it's so ironic and perfectly aligned when you do zoom out and look at where we're at as a culture of human beings and and sort of as the planet itself is within this historical time, and we look at and we zoom in and we look at the minutia, and then step back and sort of look at like the half sort of point view. It's clear that the past is we need to study the past in some form or fashion in order to understand not only like uh, where we currently are,
Right.
but also to give us that perfect vision for the future and the new
Right.
world that we do want to live in.
Right.
Um, and so it is one and the same, in a sense, and it's it only makes me, I guess, laugh a little bit. The almost like this very uh, what's the word? This very uh, all I can think of is wild. It's very wild uh, time.
Dystopian.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. It's so crazy though. Like I literally thought that last night, and I was like, wait a second. Hmm.
Easy. So
Maybe that could be the topic of our solo album.
I know, we gotta do it. Folk EP with Nahko Bear and Leah Song. It's so good.
We just call it Leah Bear.
Nahko Song. That's kind
Leah
of nice
Bear and
too.
Nahko Song.
That's fun.
Hey.
I mean, it's so crazy to me that that's the last time I was on stage. So, for those of y'all that don't know that story, not to get off dystopian, but
Oh yeah, no, it's good.
you know, I popped down to the Envision Festival to visit a bunch of friends
Well,
and
let's be clear about what actually happened, because what happened was you were like sort of like, oh,
oh, it's true.
I could
It's
come
true.
down, and you were like
It's true.
texting me, and you're like, yo, should I fly in 2 days? And I'm like, duh.
True.
But you're sort of like, maybe, maybe not. And then like literally, I think like the day before or whatever, you decided to pop down, which was so dope.
Yeah, it's true. And I figured for like the first time in a long time, I would actually go to a gathering for fun and not because I was, on staff and hired to be there. And it was such a treat to get to be immersed in all of that creativity as a participant, and
Hmm.
it's just I sat in on your set on your solo set, which was really dope. So we're gonna work on our duo album, and we did
Yes.
all kinds of. We just kind of like went off. You remember the set?
Yeah,
We were
well,
like,
it's been years since you and I even sat around and just jammed. I mean, there's the very popular video of us,
oh my god,
um,
there's so many
of baby us's
baby S's.
baby us's singing like some songs around the piano somewhere on the East Coast. I can't remember
Yeah,
where we
like I'm
were
in
now.
my yep, totally I'm in my
Yeah,
pajamas, man.
yeah. And we were just jamming, and like it's been a minute since we had the time to just kick it and do that. And I felt like, in that moment while we were on stage at Envision, and you were like freestyling a bit, and then we like uh, and then we dropped in. I think, well, yeah, we played Amazing Grace as well,
We did Amazing
and that
Grace.
was so
Yeah,
dope. Chitty
we did
like
Amazing Grace.
Chitty got like emotional, during that time, and I felt like a lot of other folks do, because it's not like you would necessarily expect us to play that song down in the jungle, but like it
Yeah, right.
it felt so appropriate and like deep, to do that with you, and like it kind of like sped up that feeling again of like, damn, girl, like we have such good vibe together when we perform, and like I can't wait to continue to make magic like that happen more and more in the coming vision of
Yeah.
2020.
And we have like I think we have both from a different perspective such a deep love of like the old folkies,
Yeah,
you know?
and
Like
old spirituals
I kind of come at it from the Appalachian leg and you kind of come at it from a lot of
from
the
the
like
Christian world.
well and also like the
Ah,
old
our God is an awesome God. He reigns
yeah,
from
you can
heaven above
kill
with
yeah,
wisdom.
you've
Okay.
got those. I like all those too. But I was thinking more of the like protest songs of the '60s,
Oh,
like.
yeah.
But
Those
I'm
ones, yeah, for
down
sure.
with the yeah. You got it. It's like the chord structure really is like it's like the chord structure calls the divinity straight in. You can nail that chord structure, Nahko. It's like your your divine superpower. You can
Mm.
nail the gospel chord structure.
It's just four of them.
I know, and then once you nail them, everyone's like, "Why am I crying? I don't even want to be crying."
Speaking of music, I mean, how's the writing going right now? Are you writing? I know you just put a new
Good.
song out.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Is there like a
Thank you.
plan for, I think I remember you saying something about an album happening. What's going on with all that?
Well, we released our most recent album about a year out, Ley Lines, and it still feels pretty new. This whole year was going to be the tour of Ley Lines, and we are
Oh, I
we're
see.
slow movers, like a lot of our contemporaries, yourself included, and like Trevor and a whole lot. People are really amazingly prolific at recording, and Rising Appalachia is
You guys put
slow.
out so much music though. Like I feel like I've every time I look over here, you're like putting new music out. I'm like, what?
Well, we got the album, but this is the cool part of what's happening now. We finished the album, and we wouldn't be working on another album for years. But for some reason, oof, they're getting me. For some reason, we have a few tracks that didn't make it to the album. We have a few older tracks that that we're like revising, that are already in the studio, that we're putting layers onto. And my sister is just like, she is a prolific writer.
Dishes.
She just writes so many beautiful songs. And so she had a couple. And so after Envision, I actually went back into the studio and we worked on a couple of songs, thinking we might release them, 6 months down the road, 8 months down the road as a few singles. But we counted the other day and we have nine. We have nine songs that are in various stages of completion to slowly kind of bring out during this phase where we are not going to be able to be performing, and probably not doing a lot of recording, not at least live. So we've got some material, and I guess mostly we'll be releasing some new ones. The new one is called Stand Like an Oak.
Mm.
And I'm pretty fond of it. It's just my sister and I, so it's old school.
Is it out now?
It's just came out. Came out
Okay,
like a week ago.
awesome. Listen to that now.
Stand Like an Oak. It just came out, and I did the cover art for it down here with my limited art supplies. So
With your what was it? Walnut ink?
I
What's
have
the
black walnut ink.
black one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we got that. We got some music, but I think it's going to be a lot of writing time, honestly. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm doing a really cool, I'm guesting in on a songwriting, kind of 5-session songwriting project with our dear friend Lydia Violet, who is also down at Envision, who's doing a lot
Mm.
of work around like the work that reconnects and bringing music and ancestry and activism in. She is coordinating some really, really powerful, like kind of lineage studies through song. And I'm
Mm.
guesting in with her. That starts this week. But I'm not really a digital person, so learning all these new realms of being an artist is like I'm slow.
I hear you.
We are not quite, I'm not really quite a millennial, you know?
You're an elder millennial.
No, I think you're an elder millennial, actually.
Oh yeah, I'm an elder millennial. Wait, are you
I'm like
Gen
the
Gen what's the one before millennial? Is X?
Gen X. Yeah,
Oh,
doesn't that just
respect.
feel boss? Gen
Yeah.
X.
I'm like lucky.
I think, how are you doing with all that? Let's get real here. I don't know what our timeline is, but I think we're doing great.
Yeah, we're fine.
How are you doing with like the transference of taking your art from a stage with an amazing interaction with fans to trying to translate it into these tiny screens, keeping everything plugged in and making it mic right, and like I would guess that you're pretty resilient, but I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm pretty fucking creative. You know what I'm saying? But no, my setup's pretty simple, to be honest. I mean, I just use my phone and then I use my iPad for Sunday services. So I don't use any kind of crazy mic setup really. You know, I just sing
Yeah,
into the phone.
yeah, yeah,
La, 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 you know, da, da, da. So that's not really hard. You know, there's definitely I've seen a lot of folks get pretty elaborate with their thing, and um, that's cool. But no, I've simplified it
yeah,
quite easily. And but yeah, I mean, like pushing everything to the digital world, to the phone, or, I mean, and or to the laptop or whatever. Like, um, it is what it is, you know. Like, I just kind of go with it, and uh, I I just get into my zone, you know.
yeah.
Um, there's a different level of like, there's no interaction, obviously. Nobody gets my jokes really, except for me, and I have to like
But you
really
probably
before I
just
go.
enjoy them anyway, You
Yeah, I do. I think I'm hilarious, so yeah, I just laugh at my own shit. But I'll like have a conversation with myself if I'm in a mood during a day, like, 'cause you know, spectrum, spectrum.
spectrum.
I'll be like, okay, bro, you know, let's just chill it out a little bit. Like, you're a bit much today, you know. And then other days I'll be like, perk it up, perk it
Yeah.
up, you know, perk it up.
Yep. And you don't have any audience interaction at all, so you just have to be like your own compass.
Yeah. Lena Moon says goodbye. She's waving at
Oh,
you.
bye, Nina.
Uh, Yeah, but I don't know. I there's pros and cons, of course. Like obviously, as we were talking about earlier, like I miss the physical interaction of with folks, but I totally just love being able to be like on the phone, be like, okay, here it is, and then be like, okay, bye, and then I'm like by myself
Right. And
again,
then you're like in
yay!
your kitchen with
I'm
your
like, sweet,
herbs and your
by
yeah
myself again, all
horses.
right.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I should probably like take advantage of that a little more. We haven't like tried any kind of online digital concert platform, but you play a concert and then you like sleep in your own bed. Ah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's it's just it's a whole thing right now, you know. Um, I saw that some people in Europe were doing, and I think it's going to probably happen here in America, but they're doing these drive-in concerts. Did you see that?
oh no.
Yeah, it looks really
Interesting.
fun.
Huh.
Yeah, like they basically, yeah, like your car, you roll up to like a stage, an outdoor stage or whatever, and then like, the band or whatever is playing the show, and
Live,
then like,
real,
yeah, yeah,
not
yeah,
like
and everybody kicks
hologram
it,
bands.
nah, and everybody kicks it in their cars and shit.
I like that.
I know, right?
Bring it back to like the drive-in days.
Hell yeah.
Then you like have your own popcorn. You can make out with your boo, and nobody can like see you. You're not messing up the dance party. You got comfortable seats.
Yep.
Where have they started doing that?
Somewhere in Europe, I saw an article about it, and then I
That's kind
saw somebody's just booked a tour for it, a short tour. I
of
think it's like 6 shows in America.
oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right, that's cool. I like
Hmm.
that. Yeah,
Hmm.
I do have like okay, so we've talked about like the anxiety part and the fear part, and obviously like the enormous crisis that's going on. And I think the frightening part is really apparent. But what I never ever would have guessed that has been so inspiring to me to witness is how ingenious people's responses are.
Hell yeah.
I mean, the creativity that's coming from every corner of the world about how to respond to this is like no none of us could have ever predicted all these little sparks of human ingenuity to like take the new set of weird circumstances and limits and restrictions and then create some fascinating, clever, often hilarious or helpful or life-saving response, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, baseball teams making masks out of their, clothes, and like just just ingenious like offerings of, oh, we need like PPE. Okay, yeah, we'll make it, out of these things and from home. And we'll send them over. Or like one of my friends was like putting together like garden boxes for people because she was like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, people need to be planting food, so here's these garden boxes, and like
that's
um,
awesome.
yeah, just people getting like super creative with like their offerings, and
Yeah.
how they can help each other out. And I mean, that's the spirit of the collective's desire to vision 2020.
Yeah.
Hey,
And like everybody in Brooklyn who's like leaning out of their windows and doing like Biggie Smalls raps in sync at like
yeah.
5 p.m. on a Sunday, and there's like 200 people, and they've nailed it to the beat, and like
Hmm.
the guy I was saying that ran the marathon in his living room, like in place. Just, I'm like truly enamored with human creativity and the like creativity and the potential that comes when people are cornered. And that's again not to romanticize that or to even say that we would have to have dire circumstances to get there.
I hear you.
But you
Yeah.
you know, it's like it's amazing what people are finding and reaching out and creating and building out of all of this.
Mm, absolutely. I mean, okay, so uh, I would love to somehow wrap up this conversation because Instagram's going to cut us off in 6 minutes.
All right.
And I want to know whether you'd like to offer any like outro Leah Song isms via, whatever's going on up in here, or a poem, or even a song. I know that you kind of said maybe, 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 but just some kind of like uh, some kind of like I don't know, some kind of final adieu to like this community here who's very, very awesome and beautiful for tuning in today and listening to our talk.
Well, I did want to do a song. Let's see if I can get to it without losing the battery, because it's been that kind of day here.
It's okay.
And I want to just, oh no, it's going to still take a minute. So while I'm getting it, I want to just say I love you, and I'm thankful for your creativity and the creativity of your crew, Knox, and just thinking about like all of our many, many years of being basically office mates as touring artists, you know, and the amount of times that like our band and your band have been able to be at the same festival and share that space and share like the pains, the beauty, the anxiety of our job and the oddness of it. So I'm super thankful, you know, that we have each other and our broader community of artists and musicians to lean into and be like, how are you doing this? And how can we do it better? So thanks for bringing me in.
Thank you so much for joining us all the way from the deep, deep, deep South.
I have an Irish drum, because why not keep it like that?
Let's go.
And a project down here called Apalatina, which is the combo. And I'll just do a couple of lines of Caminando, which is
gracias.
the song that we did together last, which is a song written by an amazing activist friend of mine, and it's about walking. You don't arrive at a place where you're finished. You have to continue walking your journey. You walk towards justice. You walk towards liberty. You know, you don't stop moving one foot in front of the other. So, it's called Caminando. Caminando, caminando, vamos caminando hacia el sol. Caminando, caminando, vamos caminando hacia la libertad. Ya no más desnutrición, queremos liberación. No el egoísmo, no a la guerra, para vivir la vida plena. Ay, caminando, caminando, vamos caminando hacia el sol. Caminando, caminando, vamos caminando hacia la libertad. La libertad.
Oh, and then there's an eagle.
Hey.
Woo!
Oh,
that's so dope.
nice.
Wow. Good one.
Yeah.
Nice job there. Well done.
Dang. Call the Eagles. La libertad.
Yeah, he was like,
Yay.
well, my dear home slice. I love you so much. Thank you so much for chatting with us today and taking this time and sharing your heart. We all love you very much, and you are doing such good works for the world. And prayers are with you, love's with you, and we'll talk to you very soon. Okay?
Yeah, let's just keep swapping stories.
Absolutely. Ciao.
Yay, love you.
Woo! Leah Song bringing in the Wombly. That was pretty dope. Gotta say, I was just in the vibe, like most of y'all listening to her, and all of a sudden, homeboy is just like, so that's pretty special. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. Very special to get to chat with my dear sister Leah Song. and hear her words of wisdom and get to check in on that level. So uh, that's it for today, yo. We have another amazing guest coming on Thursday. And oh yeah, is it? Oh yeah, wow. Guys, for real though, like 10 days from now, take your motherfunky power back drops on the Real to Real. Are you ready for that? Because I am. It's crazy. It's so crazy that it's like time already. It's 10 days from now. This album is going to be dropping like it's hot. And wow, that's so wild. I can't even believe that it's like it's already time. So just be aware. There's going to be a lot of announcements coming this week, and a lot of info around release day. We're going to be doing some very special things on that day and leading up to it, and post actually a few days after as well. Um, so yeah, thank you so much for tuning in today. Love you all very much. Uh, be well as best as you can, and consider the deeper vision of that 2020, that new world that we are walking into. I love you all very much. See you soon. Allah.